Our controller, her audit was pretty scathing. It pretty much said people of color and women overall have said they were victims of harassment at some time in their tenure in the fire department. So that stuff just has to end. And it's unfortunate because, as Ms. Gruhl said, most people out there love our fire department. They love the men and women, and the majority of the men and women who work hard in the fire department and put their life on the line every day are very well respected in the community, very loved, and very needed.
While rising in support of Chief Berry's permanent appointment, District 7 Councilmember Richard Alarcon brings up the hazing issue the department has experienced and asks about the 24-hour work shifts.
And I am just not convinced that we are on a track to eliminate the kinds of hazing and pranksterism that occurs. And I know you're well familiar with, having been on the department for 32 years. I'm not hearing anything specific that would alter the course. I do know that firefighters work 24-hour shifts, and that's rather unique throughout the nation, because I think the vast majority of departments throughout the nation they work on 8-hour shifts. And there is some concern that because of their proximity and their relationship of working closely together, that in fact that is causing them to do things that otherwise wouldn't be done. So one side of it is I'd like your response to whether you think that the 24-hour shift is contributing to some of that behavior. And number two, I don't think the disciplinary action is strong enough in this department. I think that it needs to begin at the first level. The first supervisor needs to gain the culture to rid it out of the department. Some of the things that go on in the fire department are not only wrong, they're dangerous. They have racial intonations, anti-gender actions, sexual preference, intimidation. All kinds of things are wrong, and so I have not seen a specific agenda. It's not the rhetoric is there, but you're not going to train this problem away. I think you need to scare it away. And I think you need to take some severe action on the perpetrators of these kinds of acts. So if you need backing, you have my support. And having said that, I can say that I'm a little familiar with human relations and labor relations, and I can tell you that unless you get a handle on the disciplinary action process and send a strong message that you will not put up, you will not tolerate these kinds of actions, it will continue, and we will continue to get sued, and we will continue to pay out taxpayer money and lose the opportunity to provide even more public safety services. It's a cyclical thing. I commend you for your career. I hope that you're up to this task. In fact, I believe that this is why you exist. That your major task is to rid this department of this blight of action that is negative, and we're here to back you up in that job.
Councilman, if I could respond, I agree. Discipline is a key component in correcting the areas that we need to be corrected in, but I think it's one of three components. As I stated earlier, I think the first part, we have to send a clear message of what is going to be expected and what is going to not be tolerated. I think the second part is training. And I say training, part of a key component, and you talked about the 24-hour shift, one of the key components or the most important element of our department are the captains in the station. We need to provide them more training as far as how to recognize situations early and how to address them. I think that's something we can definitely do a better job, and that's part of what we're going to be doing, because it all starts, in the field. It all starts at the fire station, and there's an officer there 24 hours a day. We need to give them the tools they need to, number one, to recognize, and then to take the proper action. The third part, the discipline, is part of it. What we have done, we've developed disciplinary guidelines that hold firefighters, captains, and officers, all officers, at a higher standard than what the standard city employee is held to. And that was all done with the stakeholders group. All the employee groups weighed in on that, and then those are the elements that are really going to bring us where we need to be.
Expressing his gratitude to the entire fire department, District 10 Councilmember Herb Wesson says he is pleased with the appointment and he welcomes Mr. Berry as a new permanent chief engineer of the Los Angeles Fire Department.
What I want to say first is how proud I am of the department's ability to do their job. This is, in my opinion, where it relates to firefighting, where it relates to outreaching to the community, the best fire department in the nation. And I recognize that there are problems and huge challenges that you have to face. Based on the relationship that you have with the upper brass and with the rank and file, I'm optimistic that you will make the changes that we on this council want and need to see to help elevate the comfort level of the rank and file and the citizens of Los Angeles. Now, I have always believed that this country that we live in is the greatest country on the planet. But let us be honest. We have flaws and we need to make changes. Chief Parks referenced the historic significance of your appointment, and that is a bigger thing than I think people have referenced today. I hope I live long enough so that I can see the day when people are judged by their deeds and their actions and not by the color of their skin. And the only way we will get to that point is when you have people of color and you have women in positions of power and you guys do the job and you do it good. So I'm very pleased with this appointment. I'm very proud of you, but more importantly, we are sending a message, a symbol you will become that anything is possible if you work hard. And if you dare to dream, nothing is impossible. So welcome aboard, Chief. I'm excited about this opportunity to serve with you.
Thank you, Mr. Wesson. That concludes the council members. Mr. Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Our new fire chief, Chief Berry. Congratulations.
President, Mr. President, can we take a group shot?
Group photo in the center, group photo.
Shortly after the vote, Chief Berry was officially sworn into office by the mayor at a ceremony outside of City Hall. We congratulate the 32-year veteran of the fire department in his new position as permanent fire chief. You can listen to City Council meetings as well as committee and commission meetings on the telephone by simply using the City's council phone system. In the downtown area, dial 213-621-CITY. In West Los Angeles, dial 310-471-CITY. For the San Pedro area, dial 310-547-CITY. And in the San Fernando Valley, dial 818-904-9450. Just follow the recorded instructions for the meetings you want to hear. And remember, you can watch all Los Angeles City Council meetings live in their entirety on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays beginning at 10 a.m. On Sundays, you can watch the replay of all the week's meetings beginning at 10 a.m. That concludes our program for the week ending September 21st, 2007. On behalf of Jack Popejoy and everyone here at Channel 35, I'm Rasha Goal. Thank you for watching, and please join us for the next Council Week in Review.
I'm Los Angeles Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, and September is Latino Heritage Month. This month, we continue to honor our rich and diverse past and highlight the work of local artists who keep Latino traditions alive and vibrant in our communities. Los Angeles truly is where the world comes together, and I encourage you to explore the many facets of Latino culture by taking part in this month's festivities and visiting your neighborhood arts and cultural centers. For a listing of all the events, exhibits, fairs, and festivals, visit our website, latino.lacity.org.
Our great city of Los Angeles has a rich and vibrant history, and the Los Angeles City Historical Society makes this history come alive with lectures and special events. Hello, I'm Councilmember Tom LaBonge in the 4th Council District, and I'm a member of the LA City Historical Society, and you can be too. To learn more, visit our website at lacityhistory.org or phone us at 213-891-4600. And I thank you, and let's continue to enjoy and love Los Angeles.
LA City View Channel 35. Your city, your channel.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Los Angeles City Council meeting for Wednesday, September 26th, 2007. I'm Council President Eric Garcetti, joined by my colleagues, Council Members Alarcon, Cardenas, Gruhl, Hahn, Labange, Perry, Rosendahl, Smith, and Zine. We have a quorum, so Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alarcon, Cardenas, Gruhl, Hahn, Weezer, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Weiss, Wesson, Zine, Garcetti. 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you. Now that we're officially in session, I want to welcome our viewers on Channel 35, where we are broadcast each day through the city's cable system, and we are also rebroadcast in the evening. We're also available online through the city's homepage at lacity.org, where you can catch live streaming webcast video of our council meetings, or take advantage of our video on demand feature, where you can see archived footage of our previous council meetings. We're also available through our city's telephone system by calling Council Phone at 213-621-CITY. That's 213-621-CITY. And you can listen to any of the proceedings of this council or any of our committees as well. We commend the agendas to the public through our city's website as well as here in person in council chambers or through the city clerk's office. Those agendas are posted 72 hours in advance or 24 hours in advance for our special meetings. Those consist of all the items that we will take upon us. If you would like to comment on any of those items, feel free to fill out a speaker card in the back, and please hand that to one of the sergeants at arms. We also have a session in each of our meetings for general public comment for items not on our agenda, but nevertheless under our jurisdiction. And again, that can be handed to one of the sergeants at arms, and we will make sure we hear your comments. So with that, first order of business, please.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Alarcon moves and Mr. Cardenas seconds. Without objection, those will be approved. Next order of business.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Okay, Ms. Perry moves, Mr. Rosendahl seconds. Without objection, those two will be approved.
Before beginning the regular agenda, Mr. President, there's a request to continue item number 35 until Friday, and the new date is September 28th.
Okay. Without objection, we'll go ahead and do that. Next order of business.
Mr. President, do you wish to take a public comment at this time?
Sure. Why don't we go ahead and take public comment? We have one card here. So Rochelle Koretz, if you'd like to come forward. Is Rochelle Koretz here? Good morning.
Good morning, President Garcetti. Good morning, council members. I've been Rochelle Koretz. I have been a resident of Los Angeles for over 60 years, residing in a duplex that my grandfather purchased in 1946. What I would like to address today involves the method in which various condominium projects are being ushered through the system. The actions of those in a position of decision-making has been to view things in a way that is outdated and inconsistent with our general and community plans. The time has come for this council to begin to recognize the responsibility that comes with your authority. You are the people who have the final say in decisions regarding land use issues. It is your responsibility to abide by the language laid out in the general framework and our community plans. You cannot permit any tract map to proceed when it is in direct conflict with our community plans. No developer should be allowed to build if he is destroying the scale and character of any neighborhood. It is time that the city stop using the by right excuse. Developers wishing to construct condos forfeit their by right status because they now must come before the city to obtain permission to subdivide their airspace. It is up to the discretion of the decision makers whether or not to grant this permission. You are charged with the obligation of seeing to it that our community plans are honored, and you should be held accountable for not respecting the principles laid out in these plans. The Wilshire Community Plans clearly states on page 2-5, and I quote, City actions on most discretionary projects require a finding that the action is consistent and in conformance with the general plan, unquote. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Arnold Sachs, and after that will be Michael Hunt.
Good morning, Council.
Good morning.
Oh, there's only three of you here, so good morning to the three of you.
There's more than three. Go ahead, sir.
There's only there's five in the room, six in the room. Thank you. I'd like to comment on a couple of articles in today's papers. One is on the red light program. There seems to be some problems with that. Personally, I don't agree. I think if it pays for itself, it frees up manpower, and does it reduce accidents? If it can, certainly it can be improved. The other thing I'd like to comment on is there's an article in the newspaper regarding the Gold Line extension from Azusa to Ontario Airport. Mr. Mayor, you have to understand that the Gold Line hasn't been built to Azusa yet. So before you go extending it, get it built that far. What about the Green Line to LAX? I have another suggestion, maybe for the mayor, that he could build an elevator to the sky, and then the public can get the shaft. And finally, I'd like to ask that a motion, Mr. Parks, if you go to the meeting tomorrow, the MTA board meeting, make a motion to allow the public to speak for more than 1 minute. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Michael Hunt was our next speaker, and then Matt Dowd. Is Mr. Hunt here?
Mr. President, I got some handouts. Who's in charge of handouts so that you guys can have?
We'll get the sergeant at arms to take that. Just put it there right now. We'll get one. They're busy doing something in the audience, but we'll make sure we get one.
Hello, my name is Michael Hunt. I've been arrested 24 times. Unfortunately, for an ordinance that is unconstitutional. We're in the process of settling out with the city. What I just gave to the Sergeant of Arms is our attorney bill, and it's to be recognized just as that for the damages and claims for me being arrested and Matt Dowd. It's a shame that it's going on 536 days and my civil rights have still been violated and they're still in that mode. It's very sickling, as one of our council person would say, that this would even take place and this would even happen, that my civil rights would be violated based on a law that's unconstitutional. In the beginning of all of this, I asked the city council person, don't sign that bill because it was unconstitutional. The judge made us tentative and said it was unconstitutional as well. I just want it to be corrected and that our claim be met such as it is on the paper. It's all valid and it's all real. So today, you guys have our bill, and we like for all the professionals that's on that bill to be well respected. At one time or another, you guys work with the professionals that's on my bill. So we want to settle. We're ready to settle. Let's do it. You guys got the bill. Thank you, Mr. Hunt.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. Our next speaker is Matthew Dowd. He's right there. Don't worry. Good morning.
Thank you. Yeah, good morning. I had to drag myself over here from the parking enforcement office because the city of Los Angeles just put a boot on my car that I've had for 5 weeks. No tickets. My record is spotless. I'm as clean as a whistle. In Mr. Rosendale's district, they obviously found the vehicle and targeted it. There's no probable cause or anything. I wouldn't even be here today, except I have to come down and go through this procedure to release an immobilizing boot, which has taken out my vehicle for 5 days now. So I'm ready to prepare some kind of a claim for the damage. There's vendors, I have a reputation as a public activist and an ethical person, and people walk by and see my car with a boot on it, and then that's damaged. It's done. You can't undo that. It's like Wendy Gruhl's house. If the people walked by Wendy Gruhl's house and saw a boot on her car in her driveway, boom, damage. Immediately. I'm bringing out a new incense flavor. This is my new one. I'm taking it to Santa Monica.
If you could please stick to things that are under our jurisdiction.
Oh boy, this is under your jurisdiction because the incense is called Mastro Vincenzo, and your attorneys are fighting my attorneys over this lawsuit. But I'm naming this incense after Mastro Vincenzo, and I'm handing out the case number, and I'm telling everyone that that is the important case. It says that artistic creation is protected and that it's extensive. Now, I'm giving out the case number. I'd like to give this to Mr. Rosendahl. It's actually information. If I can hand that to the Sergeant at Arms, the information's all on the artwork there. So I'm going to Santa Monica because your attorneys are crying that the judge is going to strike down Santa Monica because that's where you stole the ordinance from. Well, I'm heading straight up there to kill it for them if you don't take it down.
Thank you, Mr. Dowd. Our next speaker is Laura Ohanessian. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, City Council. I'm here because I want to help out the community. And we have a homeowner. I work for Vision Funding, and I also work in the real estate industry for many, many years. I've had 15 years experience, as well as my partners. They have over 32 years experience. And we have, we're California-based financial assistance. We want to help the assistance of the homeowners. The company that will offer benchmark solutions for companies, for the California homeowner, while educating the community, we also ensure the financial industry and uncompromised confidence, because it's important right now in this time of credit crunch to provide that confidence to the investment community. Our objective is to identify homeowners' needs, recognize and be able to, and be sensible to the homeowner's financial hardship, outline the homeowner's options, provide equal credit opportunity, and mitigate the losses to the investor, because that's also a difficult situation right now. There's more and more investors are getting hit very hard, and that's why also the credit crunch. So why will we be successful? Because we understand the customer. We understand the culture of the customer, being that they are embarrassed, they are intimidated, and they're afraid of and don't know how to speak out. So we want to speak out for them. We understand the lending culture as well, because the current environment requires investor confidence, common sense underwriting, while maintaining 100% guaranteed, uncompromised investment quality. And the reason why we understand that is because we've been in the industry for such a long time. Worked at Countrywide, worked at Wells Fargo, Washington Mutual, worked at Long Beach Mortgage, New Century, and all these companies.
Thank you, ma'am.
What I'm here to ask you is for an endorsement.
Thank you. We'll see if we can get some information to connect you with the Community Development Department that's working very much on that issue. So I'll have a staff member come talk to you. Thank you for your comments today.
Thank you.
Noel Weiss is our next speaker.
Council members, good morning. I wanted to comment, actually it was on a matter on yesterday's calendar, and actually it relates to the integrity of community plans. There's a tension between zoning and community plans. It's a very important issue because where the zoning is inconsistent with the community plans need to control. And Mr. Smith had a motion yesterday relating to Granada Hills. People basically came up here and they said, essentially, you are violating the community plan. Nobody on the city council brought up the city attorney to explain to the public why such was not the case. Ms. Gruhl, in contrast, had a similar motion in Sunland Tahunga a few weeks ago where the community plan was inconsistent with the zoning. She downzoned in order to maintain consistency. Now, if there is some degree of inconsistency, that's one thing. But I think it's important that the council take into consideration this important issue because it's critical in terms of the upzoning going forward. Now, Mr. Smith can shake his head no, but I would appreciate the opportunity to be educated by him relative to why I am incorrect, because this is a very, very important issue going forward, and I appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
And just for the record,
Yes, Mr. Attorney.
on that item, that did have a full hearing in Plum also, the item that,
Okay.
and commission.
Thank you very much. I think that closes public comment period. Madam Clerk, ready to go. First item?
On the regular agenda, Madam President, items 1 through 12 are street lighting district ordinances, and these are items noticed for public hearing.
I'm sorry, say that again, please.
Items 1 through 12 are street lighting district ordinances, and they're items noticed for public hearings, and there are no cards on them.
Okay, anyone like to call any of these items special? If not, Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
12 ayes.
Those items have been approved. Next item.
Next item is also a public hearing item, item number 13. It's a 1911 Act confirmation of assessment, and there are no cards on that item.
No one wishes to call that special. Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
12 ayes.
That item's been approved. Next items?
Next item is item 14, also a public hearing item. It's a confirmation of building safety lien in Council District 11.
Okay. Council, no one wishes to call that special. Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
12 ayes.
Thank you. Next item?
Next item is item number 15, and the applicant consents to a continuance to October 31st.
That will be continued to October 31st.
Next items on the agenda, Madam President, are items for which public hearings have been...
Excuse me. Yes, Ms.
Madam President, I just need to clarify for the public who might not understand the process. Item 15 is to be heard in the Plum Committee. It's my understanding on October 16th. So it was inadvertently put on the agenda today. I don't want anybody to get the idea that we were going to vote on it in council before the policy process went through. So we apologize to the public if they are a little afraid or scared, not understanding what went on. So thank you for clarifying that it is not on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next items, Madam President, are items for which public hearings have been held, items 16 through 36. On item 35 has already been acted on. There are two reports on item 36, and they concur. And on items 16 and 17, reports have been submitted on both of those, and they are commissioners. Do you wish to hold those on the desk?
We'll hold the commissioners on the desk.
And that would leave before Council 18 through 36.
Ms. Hahn.
Thank you. I'd like to call item 28 special.
Any other specials, colleagues? Any other specials? Would you like to call 31 special? 31. Okay. 31, Mr. LaBonge. No other specials. Madam Clerk, if you could open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
12 ayes.
Those items have been approved. Next items?
Next items are items for which public hearings have not been held, items 37 through 46. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Any specials, colleague? I know we do have a card on item number 38, so that will be called special. Yes?
44.
44?
Mr. Rosendahl, do you just want to make that correction now?
That's all we want to do is that correction. Verbal amendment, strike the word downtown from the first reading. It's just a technical.
Okay. I think we can vote on that with that verbal amendment.
Great. If we could do
Yes.
that.
Mr. Weiss? 35?
39.
39. Okay. Any other specials, colleagues? If not, Madam Clerk, if you could open the roll on the remaining items, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
12 ayes.
Those items have been approved. Next items?
Next items, Madam President, are closed sessions 47 through 50. Do you wish to hold those on the desk?
We will hold those on the desk.
The next item then would be on the continuation agenda, item number 51. It's an item for which public hearing has not been held. The findings were adopted yesterday.
Would anyone wish to call item 51 special? If not, Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
12 ayes.
The item's been approved. Next item.
Next item, Madam President, would be the Commissioner's. First item is item number 16, and that's confirmation of Mr. Wallace B. Knox to the Board of Water and Power Commissioners.
Yes, I think before we go to Mr. Knox, I'd like to acknowledge Mr. Garcetti, but Mr. Cardenas, do you have a...
Yeah, I want to reconsider item 45 to put on special.
All right, if we could, Madam Clerk, open the roll on reconsideration of item 45, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
12 ayes.
That item will be called special then, Mr. Cardenas. Thank you. Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you, Madam President. Before I hand the microphone off to Mr. Labange for a very distinguished and important guest we are welcoming today, let me also point out that we have the former mayor of Washington, D.C. here as well, Anthony Williams. Always a pleasure to welcome you to council chambers.
Graduate of Loyola High.
And a graduate of Loyola High here in the city of Los Angeles. Mr. Labange.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. President. Another great day in Los Angeles, but we have a very special guest here today. Please welcome the Honorable Alain Juppé, the mayor of Bordeaux, France, our sister city in France. As you know, the French gave us the greatest gift, I believe, in this country, the Statue of Liberty. Because so much of what we base who we are and how we should be is through that great gift. And also today, as you saw at the start of our meeting, the public comment right here to the governing body of Los Angeles was given based on the democracy and the principles much we learned from the French through the years of our development as a country. But now, in our relationship of over 40 years as a sister city, we're so pleased to have you and this delegation here today coincide with your very special delegation sponsored by the State Department of the United States to deal with the very, very real important issues facing both our country internally and in France internally, the issues of immigration. I'm just so pleased that you're here because you have a very special city that has done many good things to help restore its historic vibrancy, the tram system, the work that has been done, the port. I know Councilmember Hahn recently visited Bordeaux in the last several years, which is important. And I want to ask our President of Council, Mr. Garcetti, to say a few special words about you because you are a very special man, Mr. Juppé. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Labange, and it is my pleasure as well to welcome Alain Juppé here to our council chambers. Somebody who is not just the mayor of Bordeaux a couple times over, but is also a former prime minister of our dear friend France. And we have quite a history in California here of interaction with French. We've had Frenchmen and French women who have lived in the Pueblo de Los Angeles from our earliest days. And in fact, I know we're going to be getting a history just later this morning of the city of Los Angeles, but part of that details our French roots. But we also know in our country, the same year that this city was founded in 1781 was the year that Cornwallis was surrendering to the French to allow our nation of the United States of America to become a free nation. And the friendship that extends back now through four separate centuries in both Europe and North America is something that is at the core of who we are, and certainly the ideals that Alain Juppé has embodied as a public official are very much those that we share here. Since he became a public servant in 1972 as an inspector, I'll just show everybody the list of the different positions he's held instead of reading them all because it covers 2 full pages. Absolutely. I don't know if we could do any other business today, but it is incredibly impressive the number of positions he has held and the breadth of what those positions are. He was elected as a councillor in the 18th district in Paris, so he is familiar with the local government level that we embody here as council members, an elected member of the European Parliament, of course an elected member of the Parliament in France as well, and eventually becoming the Prime Minister in France as well from 1995 to 1997. He was elected as the Mayor of Bordeaux June 18th, 1995, excuse me. And it says much about him that he was the Mayor of Bordeaux, left, and we have a wonderful deputy mayor who is here, I understand, for a time covered his mayoral duties while he was out of the country, and then stepped down to allow him to resume the mayoralty when he returned to France. And we know that loyalty is such an important part of politics, but it says much about you as well, Deputy Mayor, that you've been able to support such an extraordinary public servant and to do that so selflessly as well. He was re-elected as Mayor of Bordeaux most recently, October 8th in 2006, but continues to be a national and international leader as chairman of the Committee for the Organization of the International Conference on the Environment, welcoming voices from around the world on creating a greener and more sustainable future, but also being a Minister of State Minister of Ecology and Sustainable Management and Development. And we want you to know, Mr. Mayor, that here in Los Angeles, we hope to partner with you in the Sister City Agreement on more sustainable ports, more sustainable life, more sustainable transportation and building, because a green future for both of our countries is going to be so critical. So with that, he is an author. He's authored 5 books. He has distinguished himself in private and public life, in academia as well, and I know we are all so honored to have Alain Juppé here for such an extraordinary opportunity. He is also an alumnus of the French-American Young Leaders Foundation just a couple of years ago, which I am lucky enough to be a fellow of right now, which is an exchange of young leaders from France and the United States. So we appreciate the good work that he has done for the fellowship as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Labange, or I'll introduce the Honorable, please join me in welcoming the Honorable Mayor of Bordeaux, Alain Juppé. Please welcome him to our council chambers here in Los Angeles.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Members of the City Council of Los Angeles, members of the Los Angeles Bordeaux Sister Cities Committee, dear friends, it is for me a great pleasure and honor to speak to you today. I have the pleasure of heading a delegation accompanied by my Deputy Mayor, Mr. Hugues Martin, and by Mrs. Parcelier, who is in charge in particular of youth, volunteer associations and neighborhood activities in my municipal staff. I came to Los Angeles with a twofold objective. Firstly, we have undertaken together a fruitful exchange of our experience in the management of cultural diversity and in the field of integration policy in our 2 respective cities. Secondly, we came to see the success stories of Los Angeles in sustainable development. This trip to Los Angeles is the first that I have made officially as the Mayor of Bordeaux, and I am particularly happy to have seen the new drive given to our exchange of ideas on those 2 issues which are so important for the development of our cities. It was no less than 39 years ago that our Sister Cities Agreement was officialized in Bordeaux on October 16, 1968 by my predecessor, Jacques Chaban-Delmas, and the then Mayor of Los Angeles, Sam Yorty. I truly feel that our sister city needs to be revitalized. It needs to be revitalized realistically by carefully targeting those areas of common interest between our 2 cities, the size, challenges, economic and human dimensions of which are so different. In that respect, I believe that such vital issues as sustainable development and integration head the list of laying new foundation for our renewed dialogue. I should like here to thank the City of Los Angeles for its valuable help. The recent visit of Council member Tom Labange to Bordeaux last March was a major step forward in the renewal of our relationship. My thanks go also to the members of the Los Angeles Bordeaux Sister Cities Committee, and in particular to its Lady President, Mrs. Jocelyne Hervé, for the inspiring efforts she has deployed to boost our partnerships. Thank you very much. I am convinced that Bordeaux and Los Angeles have a lot to learn from each other. There is an excessive tendency to think that Bordeaux is just wine, what is true, history, and magnificent 18th century architecture. Even that has just been recognized by UNESCO, which has listed Bordeaux as part of its World Heritage. Bordeaux is all that, of course, but it is also a city the economic and technological ambitions of which are now duly recognized. It is a city which has successfully implemented its urban renewal, in particular with the development of innovation envied by many people, such as our tramway, with its unique ground-powered system. In a word, Bordeaux is a city fully committed to the modern world, the international reach of which continues to grow and expand as the years go by. As you can see, our partnership can prove to be fruitful. That is the main message that I wanted to share with you today in the name of the people of Bordeaux. I am particularly glad to sign with you this resolution for the revitalization of the Sister Cities Agreement between Los Angeles and Bordeaux. Thank you very much for hearing me.
Mr. Garcetti and Mr. Labange. Please do introductions, then we have some council members that would like to speak as well.
I introduce my wife, Isabelle, excuse me, and then Mr. Martin, who is Deputy Mayor of Bordeaux.
And also we have our great Council General who represents France, Philippe Leroy. And Ms. Horvey, we thank you very much. And give El Gashar from Mayor Villaraigosa's office a big hand, Chief of Protocol there. Okay. Some members have some comments.
Yes, thank you. Ms. Hahn, followed by Councilmember Smith.
Thank you, Madam President. Bonjour. Thank you. I really want to welcome you here to Los Angeles today and to tell you that absolutely the sister city relationship between Los Angeles and Bordeaux is so special and so important. I was able to lead the delegation from Los Angeles, I think it was in 2002, where we came to Bordeaux, and it was an absolutely wonderful, enriching, meaningful visit. I represent the Port of Los Angeles here on the City Council, so it was great to see the port. We walked along the waterfront, and when I was there in 2002, you were beginning to realize a new transit system down by the waterfront, and I came back with ideas about transit by my Port of Los Angeles. I came back with an idea to develop our waterfront so that people could walk on a boardwalk, much like in Bordeaux, along our water in Los Angeles. So it was a wonderful, we met with the Chamber of Commerce, and we had just a beautiful visit. I felt very welcomed. I felt, very much needed in terms of furthering the relationship between our two wonderful cities. So welcome today, and I look forward to my next visit to Bordeaux. And congratulations on what we're doing today. It's very important.
Mr. Smith.
Thank you. I want to welcome you to Los Angeles. We're very pleased to have you here. You may not know, and I bet most people at council don't know this, but at one time, Los Angeles was 15% French. And that we actually had a mayor of Los Angeles named Damien Marceau, who was French descendant. Two-time mayor of Los Angeles was French descendant. So while we consider ourselves a Spanish city, we have very strong ties to the French people, and we're very pleased to have you here. And welcome on behalf of all Los Angeles. Thank you.
Very good.
Yeah, you didn't know that, did you?
All I know is Vignes Street over by the county building there. Okay, thank you. Madam President, we're going to take a moment to sign the documents. Okay.
And after that, we have one other French city that we are honoring here today, but we'll get to that next. It is an honor to have some great visitors from New Orleans, but hold on one second and we'll do that.
I think we'll figure this out right here. Yeah. It's been here. Okay. And we could sign that right there. Oh, you already got it. Good job. I know. You got to fake it's Hollywood. Go like that. Okay. And then we go right here. Very good. Thank you. I got one right here. Good job. Thank you, Eric. Good job. I do want a city pin. Not that bad. You're right there. Good job. Go right here. Here we go. We got it right there. Good. Yeah, we got it. Thank you. Let me get Mr. Garcia to second it right now. Together, all together. How we together? Absolutely. 1 second, 2, 3, 1, and right here. This is for you. Official certificate of welcome. We're just going to hold it right here. Let's give a great hand for the great sister city of Bordeaux, France. They're off to see the wonderful city of Los Angeles and the county, so we'll escort them out. And also, please welcome the special delegation with our State Department special invitation. Give them a big hand as well. I didn't move it. Maybe Young G did. Young G, Vice President.
Oh, thank you so much. A real honor, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. It's an honor to have you here. Thank you. Pleasure.
Thank you so much.
I'll let you know when I return back from San Francisco. Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much. Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
There's a piece of paper. It's my honor, Madam President, to welcome another president to the City Council. Arnie Fielkow is the City Council President of the City of New Orleans, who is here with a delegation of fellow New Orleanians, right?
Yes.
Yeah, New Orleanians. All right, want to make sure I had that right. Yeah. Who are the fleur-de-lis ambassadors, to be exact, who are part of a delegation going around the country to speak about one of the great American cities, but one that has French roots, New Orleans, where we will all be in November for the National League of Cities Conference. But Arnie is an extraordinary person who entered public life rather recently. He's president of the City Council, but was just elected in 2006. He has a background in business as an attorney in the sports area. He's actually a triple threat, having worked for the Continental Basketball Association in basketball. He worked for minor league baseball, and then most recently in the NFL, which I know Mr. Parks will be pleased to hear, with the New Orleans Saints. He himself is an athlete, having played collegiate tennis, having won a silver medal at the 15th Maccabiah Games in Israel as a player on the U.S. team that went to Israel for the Maccabiah Games, and somebody who has brought that spirit of fair play and competition to the City Council in New Orleans. The group that he has before us that he will introduce in a moment is really impressing upon us the friendship between our two cities as well. And I was lucky enough to be in New Orleans just about 3 months ago and to spend some time seeing just how tied together we are as a city. We know what Los Angeles, just as America in so many places, response was to the tragedy of Katrina. We saw many of New Orleans' finest resettle here in Los Angeles, and that cross-pollination has certainly enriched our city. But we have done our best, and we want to continue to do our best to give back to a great American city, New Orleans, see what we can do to learn from the rebuilding of that city and how we can be best involved and contribute to that. So with that, I hope you'll welcome the President of the New Orleans City Council, and I know many of you were able to speak with him before, but Arnie, if you'd like to say a few words and introduce the delegation, it is our great honor, and please, if we can have a round of applause for our delegation from New Orleans.
Thank you, Mr. President. What a very nice introduction, and to all of the council members, it is indeed a privilege and an honor to be here with you. I feel like I'm at home a bit because I did my first legal internships about a block away when I was just out of law school, and I also have a son who is a freshman down the street at USC. So we are very, very happy. They're USC. All right, beautiful. I think you have a pretty good football team from what I understand. And on behalf of the city of New Orleans, I have to also thank you for one of the native sons for lending them to New Orleans, Reggie Bush. He has made a bit of a difference with our city, and although we're not off to the start that we'd like this season, last season was certainly magical for our city. It is clearly a privilege to be with you here in this great city of Los Angeles. I'm here this morning in my official capacity as president of the New Orleans City Council, along with my colleagues in a very important program that was founded in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. New Orleans has clearly suffered greatly since August 29, 2005, and as we struggle to rebuild our city and our daily lives, it became very apparent that the rest of the country was not always aware of what was happening in our city and that there were many misconceptions about our city and our progress. Along with President Scott Cowan of Tulane University, I founded the Fleur de Lis Ambassador Program to spread the message that New Orleans is an economically viable, livable city with long-range recovery plan in progress. To seek additional support in our recovery from business and philanthropic organizations, and to personally say thank you to the communities, and especially the city of Los Angeles today, for your graciousness and your hospitality in taking in many of our residents over the last 2 years. 25 New Orleans citizens representing a diverse cross-section of the city's business, philanthropic, academic, artistic, and government sectors have been named Fleur de Lis ambassadors. They are racially and ethnically diverse representatives of New Orleans' unique cultural composition. And I'm really honored to have them with me here. This is, I think, our 10th or 11th visit. We've got 2 more visits over the course of the next couple months to make, and hopefully we'll be repeating the program next year. Besides myself, I'm honored to have with me on this trip Ms. Phyllis Taylor, Chairman and CEO of Taylor Energy, and one of the great leaders of our city, and especially in the area of education. W. Anthony Penn, President and CEO of Ebony Networks, and a very popular broadcaster now in the city of New Orleans. Ben Johnson, President and CEO of the Greater New Orleans Foundation, a great leader who has funded through his organization many of the rebuilding projects in the city. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank our gracious and wonderful administrator, Mary Leigh Murphy, for all of the wonderful support she's provided in putting this together. I also have to just pay special recognition because I'm honored today to have my father, Jack Filco, and my daughter, Yana Filco, in the audience here, came in from Tucson. And
Have them stand up so we can see them, please. Please stand so we can all
stand up for a second.
I recognize you. Yeah,
Mr. President and members of the Council, New Orleans was devastated by the structural failures in our federal levee system. Over 80% of the city was flooded, and thousands of homes and businesses were destroyed. But despite this disaster, we are resilient and a determined people. And one of the misconceptions that we always have to clear up when we go to these cities is, number one, New Orleans is not underwater right now. We're not fully recovered. We're somewhere in between. And number two, the cause of our loss was the result of a massive breach of our federal levee system and the negligence of our federal government, which has been admitted. It was not an act of God, and I want people to make sure that they understand that. Had it just been Katrina, we would have been had problems for a couple days, and we would have been back our feet. But no city in the history of mankind has gone through the level of devastation that we've gone, with 80% of a city underwater as a result of the negligence. Over 60% of our pre-Katrina population has returned, with more returning every day. But with that, we've also seen an interesting dynamic in a new report that's come out that has said that for every person that has not come back, 2 2 new young people have come to the city of New Orleans. Many of these volunteers that have invested their sweat equity in our community, and that speaks very well, in my opinion, to the future. And if we can get our citizens back in our city and supplement that with all of the new, young, vibrant talent that's coming into our city, it makes for the rebuilding of a great American city. As you come, and hopefully we'll see many of you next month when you come to New Orleans for the convention, you will see that in many ways it's a tale of two cities. The area that you'll be in for the convention, the French Quarter, the Warehouse District, is almost fully recovered. It's vibrant. It is very clean, and you will really enjoy themselves. Our restaurants are open. Our hotels are open, and we are open for business as a community. And we have a very strong fall and spring of conventions coming back. But you will also see, hopefully, many other parts of the city that are still a struggle and will be until we can get our folks back and get our infrastructure rebuilt. New Orleans has a recovery plan in place called the UNOP plan, headed, by the way, by one of your own, Dr. Ed Blakely, who was part of the recovery in Oakland and also was a star football player, I'm told, at the University of California at Riverside. And Dr. Blakely has brought a lot to the table since he's come in. The most interesting thing about our recovery plan is it's really the byproduct of 2 years of citizen involvement. Never before has a community come together, average folks meeting every day, every evening, in order to take charge of their future and to rebuild a city. And it's really inspiring. It's one of the great untold stories about New Orleans post-Katrina. Our public education system, led by many of us that are up here, and a special tribute again to Phyllis because of her contributions. Our education system, long recognized as one of the worst, quite frankly, in the country, is coming back strong. And as you know, in this market and any other urban market, the rebuilding of a city requires a good, solid, quality public education system. We think that we're on the right track. Los Angeles is a great model city for us in so many ways. You have a diversity of culture, strong economic activity. It's amazing to just travel your city and see the cranes that are up and the rebuilding that's going on, and your community's resiliency in the face of your own geographic challenges and your own disasters that have occurred. We can learn a lot from you. And again, we are so thankful and so appreciative of all of your help. We're thankful that you hosted us here. We've got a couple more days in the city of Los Angeles meeting with other leaders while we're here, and we're very thrilled to be here. So Council President Garcetti and Council colleagues, thank you so much. You have an open invitation. Come to New Orleans, enjoy some of our own Southern hospitality. Hopefully many of you will be there in a few weeks, and we will open you with welcome arms and welcome you to the great Crescent City of New Orleans. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And we do have a couple council members that would like to add their welcome and greetings. Councilmember Zine, Rosendahl, and Hahn. Mr. Zine.
Okay, thank you. New Orleans. When I was there a couple months ago, that's what they said. It's not New Orleans, it's New Orleans. That's what they said. Anyway, I just wanted to let the folks know, because there's a lot of concern. We spoke about the safety issue. Is my experience there very, very safe. You got National Guard, you got state troopers, you got the police, you got private security. Stayed at the Hilton, which was wonderful. The entire area, the people were great. And I know that some people have apprehension because of some of the news reports that they read, that they hear. Being a former member of the LAPD with a lot of experience in that, you have a safety net there to let people know it's very comfortable. And they should travel there, and they should help. I mean, if you go to the devastated areas, obviously it's a no man's land. But the areas, the restaurants, as you mentioned, are open. The food is wonderful. You go there, you're going to gain some weight, so probably lose some weight before you go. I mean, it's absolutely a wonderful experience. I'm looking forward to the National League of Cities meeting that we're going to have there in November. And National League of Cities is putting out the word that we invite people to come and attend and enjoy. And it's not you're not going to a disaster. You're going to an area that's going through a rebuild. But the area that we have the conventions, that area is you can't tell anything happened. And that was my first trip to New Orleans just a couple months ago, the exploratory mission from National League of Cities. And I was very, very impressed with the quality of life that they have there, with the safety. And that was my main concern about the safety because of all the rumors and all the reports that I'd read. So you're doing a great job as a council president. and the athlete that you are. You can sprint through that street and make it work well. But I was absolutely, totally overwhelmed with the positiveness that I saw there. So I just wanted to acknowledge that publicly and commend you on the hard work. I know it hasn't been an easy task. People who want to go, and I hope many of my colleagues will attend. I know our council president is going to be attending. We serve on committees there at National League of Cities. So it's a wonderful place to vacation, a wonderful place to enjoy. But people should get out of their mind that it's a negative environment, because it's far from that. So congratulations, keep the rebuilding going, and again, welcome to Los Angeles, the sunny city of the West Coast.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. Mr. Rosendahl.
Yes, good morning and welcome to Los Angeles. First, I was intrigued when President Garcetti said an older guy decided to go into office at a certain point. I was riveted and identified with that. I'm new to this, too. What lessons did you learn that could be applicable for us in Los Angeles if, God forbid, we had a disaster?
Well, I think the lesson that we've learned is obviously be very prepared, have a plan in effect beforehand, have coordination of all levels of government. Work on, and we've worked with our federal government on trying to revise some of the bureaucracy that exists in a post-disaster situation. And with the Stafford Act, I personally, and I know many of our leaders believe there's a lot of changes that need to be made at the federal level in order to revise that to adjust to a situation like a Katrina.
Do you see the federal government responding now and getting its act together?
Well, I'm going to speak freely. I think the federal government, first of all, has been very gracious, and we have received considerable help. And certainly we always want to thank the American public for the tremendous support that they have provided us. But we've got a lot of work to do. Again, I think we're in a bit of uncharted water in bringing back an American city after a Katrina. And one of the things that we'll hope that our president, who stood in Jackson Square within hours after Katrina and said whatever it takes, how long it takes, we're going to need that level of commitment in order to bring the great city of New Orleans back. We're trying to do it on a state level, on a city level, but at the end of the day, the magnitude of the federal dollars is what will help us greatly in bringing back our infrastructure and our citizens and really rebuilding our city. So we hope that we can get that commitment, and at the same time, we always want to express the appreciation to all of the folks around this country and around the world. And it was nice to see our French counterparts here, because obviously we have a long and wonderful history with the French government. We want to make sure that we express our thanks while we're continuing to rebuild and asking for additional assistance.
I know Angelino's heart were very heavy, and many folks from New Orleans came here. I had a family with us at the Abbot Kinney Festival where the community got behind that family, found them a place to live, and set up opportunities there. So our heart is with your heart, and we're thrilled to see the recovery happening, and thank you for coming before us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hahn.
Thank you, Madam President. And again, welcome. I had a great time at the reception earlier talking to you. And I actually had some experience with someone who came from Louisiana after the hurricane, and wanted to give us tips here in LA about how to catch our alligator, which was roaming in one of our public lakes in Los Angeles. And he felt sorry for us because he said, in Louisiana it's a common day occurrence to see an alligator, but we of course never had an alligator in Los Angeles, so he was gracious enough to give us a few tips on how to catch that alligator. But I was talking to Phyllis in the back, and one of the things that I learned from the disaster was about how quickly the Port of Los Angeles should be prepared to recover in the event of a major disaster, either man-made or a natural or a terrorist attack. We've been working really hard at the Port of Los Angeles to prevent a terrorist attack. We know that 43% of all the goods that come into this country come through our port, and it impacts the entire region. But we never had a plan in place for recovery in the event of a disaster. And we know with that port was shut down, If our port was shut down even for one day, it cost about $2 billion to the national economy. So it was a result of watching you and lessons learned that we have now instructed our Harbor Department, our Port of Los Angeles, to be prepared to recover in the event of disaster. Make sure that they can get back in business as quickly as possible. I think the lessons learned were certainly not just for your wonderful city, but I think for the whole country. And it's unfortunate that lives were lost and the devastation was so great for the rest of us to wake up and begin to look at our infrastructure and our preparation for a major disaster. So I think there were a lot of lessons learned, and hopefully what happened to you will not be in vain for the rest of the country. I'm looking forward to coming back there for the National League of Cities. It will be my first trip to New Orleans, and I'm really looking forward to being there. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn. And I just want to add my congratulations for the kind of effort that you're undertaking to go around to cities like Los Angeles to talk about the recovery and talk about the importance of tourism. We as a city who depend quite a bit on tourism understand the importance of that and look forward to being there for the National League of Cities. We chatted briefly also at the reception about how important it was to learn from some of these disasters and how to ensure that all levels of government are up to the level we think is critical to respond to that. And so I'm just so happy that you are here, and we welcome you to Los Angeles and this beautiful chambers, and to your family that is with you today. And we'll take good care of, was it your son or son? Son, that's at USC, we promise.
Thank you.
I went to the other school across town, but we have a nice little crosstown rivalry here in City Hall. Thank you so very much for being here, all of you, and good luck. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Madam President.
And we, before Mr. Labange, I know you said item 31. Mr. Labange, can we go ahead and approve?
Parking District on 31, all here in support of the Parking District, please rise. Thank you very much. Any opposed to the parking, please rise. So we thank you for coming down and appreciate your support in the community. Thank you. We ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, if you could open the roll on item 31, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
14 ayes.
Thank you. And if we could also ask for item 51 to go forthwith. Thank you. Mr. Labange has a brief presentation, and then we will go to our commissioners.
Madam President, members, I hope you all, in our busy day this morning, read the Los Angeles Times, Bob Poole's story about the city archives and our history. With me today are the people who really put it together, put these volumes together. They were delivered to your offices. You may have seen them the last day, which we received them here. It's called The Development of the Los Angeles City Government. And the person who is so special to us all is the chairperson, if I may say, of the whole event, a former assistant city clerk of Los Angeles, the city archivist, Hinda Rudd. Hinda, please.
It's my pleasure to be here. Before I do anything further, I have to remember the responsibility for this book truly being here is from two organizations, the Historical Society of Los Angeles City Historical Society. They are the publishers of this book, and the Haynes Foundation. They gave us more than $100,000 to put this book together. This is one of a kind book in the country. It covers city government from 1850 to 2000. Now, maybe this isn't part of your regime, but remember, you are a link in this chain, and you are making history every single day. And let that impress upon you. I want you to know something. One of the things that really disturbs me is the fact that many people do not know where the city archives are. We are not in the public library. We are 27 years old, and for 26 years we have been in the Piper Technical Center. We have one of the finest municipal collections of anybody, any institution in this country. and we are preparing to have a reception for elected officials and their staff between Thanksgiving and Christmas to come with your staff to see the records we have dating back to 1827. And from 1850, we have every minute book and index that the city has put out. There is no reason for any of you to create the same mistakes. Again, become familiar with what has happened in your past. And we hope you enjoy these 2 volumes because they are sensational, if I have to say so myself.
Oh, Hinda,
thank you.
Hinda, thank you. I want to do 2 things first. First thing I want to do, I want to ask Avak to draft a motion to reinstate the position of city archivist. Okay? So I think that should happen. Okay? Number 2, the records management clerk is with us this morning and his staff. I'd like to ask them all to be stand and be praised. Todd Kavinsky from the Piper Tech and all his staff there from the clerk's office, volunteers, everybody. Give them a big hand right there. Now, William Burke should be acknowledged for his work. Give him a 1 clap right there. Dr. Tom Sitton. Tom. All right. Good job, Tom. Appreciate that. Doris Nunes. Give him a big hand right there. He lives on Cromwell in my district and is a great historian. And it's fun to see him around with other historians talking as if you were around a bunch of great football coaches talking about programs. Charlie Mims, our very own Charlie Mims. Give him a big hand for his work there. I hope I got everybody. Father Michael Eng, give him a big hand from Loyola Marymount University. Eddie Feldman. Eddie, good job, Eddie. All the way. Give him a big hand. And if I missed anybody, I'll help me here. Did I miss somebody? Yeah. Oh, good job, Billy. Okay, did I miss anybody over here? Oh, good. Finally, last but not least, and the great thing, Mr. Wesson, is when we, and you know this because of your history, when you work with people over the years, whether it's at the city or the county or the state, you meet great public servants. Hinda Rudd is one of that public servants. She's retired now, but she's still contributing to the great history of Los Angeles. Hinda, on behalf of the council, we salute you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so very, very much.
So these are the great volumes. They will be in libraries throughout the city. You each got a book. If you don't have the time, have one of your staff read it. Because I tell you that. I tell you that because I did that when I worked for John. John had so many books and volumes on the history, and it taught me much what I know today, which is little. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Hinda.
We're going to go back and take a picture.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, next item.
Next item, Madam President, is item number 16, and that is a confirmation of Mr. Wallace B. Knox to the Board of Water and Power Commissioners, and a report has been submitted to Council.
Thank you. Mr. Knox, if you could make your way to the table. Mr. Knox, I know Ms. Perry stepped out just for a moment, but you were before our committee yesterday, Energy and Environment Committee. If you'd like to say a few words about your new endeavor as Commissioner for the Department of Water and Power and some of your priorities, and then we'll go to our council members.
Well, let me just say it's a pleasure to address you as President Gruhl. And it's good to look around the room and see so many faces I know so well. I did not come here to make a long presentation about the appointment to the Water and Power Commission. I'm looking forward to it a great deal. We have some significant issues to grapple with. The outages drew our attention to DWP in a way that I hope will end up actually being productive. It's an institution that for many years has lived off a reservoir, as it were, of goodwill, but now finds itself in a climate in which I believe it must begin to earn goodwill very carefully and very vigorously. We have a lot of work ahead of us, and I'm open to questions.
Thank you. I'd like to acknowledge Mr. Weiss, Mr. Weezer, Mr. Zine, and Mr. Wesson.
Thank you.
Individually, of course.
Thank you, Madam President. And you show very good judgment, and it shows that you really learned a lot from your time in the legislature that you chose to make a brief speech.
Yes.
Because, as you can tell, it's 11:10 and we're just getting started.
Yeah.
And what you said made Mr. Smith giggle. I forget exactly what you said, but it worked. I just want to say congratulations to you. I've known you for a long time, and I know that your heart and soul are entirely in the realm of public service, and you have a lot of options in your life, but the public option is the one that has always mattered the most to you. And I just wanted to congratulate you and tell you I look forward to working with you. I also wanted you to know that I don't think I've seen you in a suit, white shirt, and tie for a very long. Ever since you became a grad student, you didn't keep this up.
And I usually put the tie on very last.
But welcome and congratulations, Wally.
Thanks, Jack.
Mr. Weezer.
Thank you. Well, thank you for your service, and I also wanted to publicly thank you for the work you did at the school district. When I first got elected there, I was the chair of the Business, Finance, Audit, and Technology Committee, and we asked you to be one of our public members on that committee, and at a very difficult time, we cut about $400 million each year from our budget, which was very difficult decisions. On the business side, we made some decisions and some improvements on how the district operates, and you were integral to that, and your knowledge at the Assembly and everything else we did, you were very helpful to do that. So I look forward to your service here, and given the recent outages that we've seen because of the heat and the heavy rains, a lot of attention and focus is going to be on you and the Commission, but with someone of your knowledge and skill, I look forward to you taking a leadership role in that to work with the Council on how we could prevent the type of outages we've had and improve the infrastructure that is way outdated throughout the city. That's going to be a huge issue, and looking at our labor force and the need we have to increase the amount of labor force we have to keep up with our need to improve our infrastructure. So thank you so much for your service.
If I may, Madam President, respond. I mean, you flatter me with your comments, and I wish I had been as productive as with you, school board, as you indicate. I think that was your work, and I was very impressed with my meetings with you in those conversations. I couldn't agree more with your comments about the outages, and in particular, I'm very happy to hear a member of this council immediately transition from talking about transformers and cable, which is an easy way to talk about the outage issue, and to begin to focus on one of the much more crucial issues, which is the understaffing at DWP and what we are going to do about it. There's good news there. And the good news is that oftentimes in organizations there's a management versus a union perspective, and that solving problems becomes intractably difficult. In the few days I've had to brief myself on what's going on, it is my considered belief that IBEW Local 18 is part of the solution at DWP already. The will is there to create change and to move ahead, but we have not yet seen the payoff.
Thank you. I look forward to working with you on that.
Mr. Zine.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Dennis.
I can remember when I was a director with the Police Protective League, and you were a state assembly member, and you were so kind to law enforcement. Anytime law enforcement needs something, you were there. I just wanted to acknowledge that, and I'm glad to see you coming forth to this commission, which obviously, without water, without power, people of Los Angeles would be in a desert. But all of your experience and the cordial attitude that you always had toward me and other members of law enforcement, I'll never forget. You were one friend that we had in the state legislature, and I was sorry to see you leave that position, because we could always count on you for our issues that were there to protect the people of Los Angeles and California. But I wish you well in the commission, and I've seen you here and there over the years. You've never forgotten the people of the city, the people of California, so I just welcome you aboard. It's an interesting commission, sometimes controversial, always challenging, but you're used to that type of environment. So I just wanted to say hello and welcome back to the City of Los Angeles and this commission.
Thanks very much, Dennis. I loved working with the Protective League. It was a terrific relationship.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wesson, followed by Mr. Alarcon, then Mr. Rosendahl.
Thank you, Madam President and members. It's a pleasure to rise and to say hello to an old friend, an individual that I personally had an opportunity to serve in the California State Assembly with, in fact, my first term. In fact, let me just say this. Wally is a casualty of a state term limit system that needs to be fixed.
Beneficiary.
You can say that now, but I tell you, the state is much worse off without you. And I can remember that he ran for state senate against another highly respected member of the Assembly at that point in time, Sheila Kuehl. And it was the classiest campaign between the two of you titans that I had ever seen. Wally Knox is a class act. But Department of Water and Power is a very critical department. It's a very important function. And it's going to take individuals that have certain skills and abilities. Wally Knox definitely has those abilities. When we were in the Assembly, I would try to pick all of the easy legislation to carry. I don't think he did anything ever that was easy. It was always difficult. You had to bring in both sides and mitigate this and mitigate that. And I would say that Wally won more than he lost. And he, in my opinion, is the type of individual that will have the courage, the intelligence, and the ability to stand up and tackle the tough issues that are at DWP. So I think that this is the City of Los Angeles' gain. It's good to see you, and please give your wife my best.
It's great to see her.
Thank you. Mr. Alarcon?
It's Mr. Knox. It's good to see you again.
Good to see
Thank you so much for volunteering to be nominated. And
it's the big money.
It's the big money, yeah. We certainly can use your advice. I think Mr. Huizar has talked to you about the most critical issue at Department of Water and Power, the need to rebuild our infrastructure, and the need to invest in upgrading the staff at the Department of Water and Power to build those new transmission lines and transformers that are installing those transformers that need to be installed, and most importantly to maintain the infrastructure that exists, which is our most critical problem. So you've addressed that, and I appreciate that. And I just want you to know that there is another member of the council who believes that we need to hire more DWP personnel to maintain that system so that we stop the loss of not only power of revenue that also comes in from that source. That's one side of the story that isn't being discussed. If the system is not maintained properly, it is not very efficient, and we're losing a lot of revenue as a result of that. I also wanted to ask you a question about what you thought about splitting 818 into 747 and 818. What I would point out to my colleagues, if you're not aware, is it was Mr. Knox who took on the utilities when the communications utilities, when they wanted to divide 818, what we now know is prematurely. And they claimed that we were going to run out of 818 numbers in 2 years, and you championed an investigation into whether or not that was accurate. And 7 years later, they are now saying that we're going to run out of 818 numbers in 2 years again. And so when asked, I said we need to make sure that their numbers are correct and not just assume it, as you did not assume it. I say that because at the Department of Water and Power, we have an example of a very powerful utility that expresses very strong feelings about particular positions that sometimes need to be challenged and questioned. And so, because of your experience in challenging major utilities when their premises feel funny, and your willingness to take the helm and take the shots, I just want to commend you. That's exactly what we need at the Department of Water and Power. Somebody who wants to deal in reality, who recognizes we need to make massive changes, who's willing to take the shots, to make the statements that need to be made to get those changes on the agenda. And I think you're right for the job. Not to mention, you're a wonderful dresser.
Yes,
I commend you
I
on
work at it really hard.
your outfit today. We must have got the same memo, but congratulations. I welcome you aboard. It's a pleasure to support you, and I know that you're going to do some of your best work at the DWP.
Thank you for your comments. I can't wait to get out of it and get back in my jeans, but that's the way it works. I'm going to dodge big time the question about the area code, if you don't mind, Richard. It's something I haven't really boned up on. But I remember years ago, my very young daughter at that time, who probably was in 3rd grade, I came home discussing the issue for the first time and was discussing how the phone companies were saying it's very complicated, you'll never understand it, it's extremely difficult to understand. And my 3rd grader said, there are 7 digits, right? Well, that means there are 10 million possible numbers, right, Dad? Yeah. Okay, well, that's a place to start the analysis. And we sort of rolled on from there. You got it.
Mr. Rosendahl, followed by Mr. Cardenas, Mr. LaBonge, and Mr. Garcetti.
There he is.
Hi, Bill.
See how many lives we have in this world?
Ain't life weird?
Yes, it is. Having had you as a candidate and then as an elected and watching your career blossom and now back into the city of Los Angeles, a couple of hard questions for you. Have you looked at the whole thing about renewable energy, 20% by 2010, and that's 3 years away? Are we going to make it?
Started looking at it. We're going to make it. But we're going to make it by working really hard. It is not an easy goal to achieve, and it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take cooperation with this council to do that.
In that cooperation, I envision the day when solar panels first are on every government building, and then every homeowner and apartment owner has an opportunity to somehow or another get them on their roofs. We are sunny Southern California. What's your take on that strategy of solar panels?
There are a number of projects going forward at this moment that I probably shouldn't get into detailed discussion of for 2 reasons. First of all, it's premature, and number 2, my knowledge of them is so slight I would blow it badly. I would say something completely inaccurate. But there are some really interesting projects getting off the ground now that I think you're going to begin hearing about in a matter of months.
To me, action will speak, and action, especially now on solar panels, is a must. You heard other colleagues talk about infrastructure. The other day, Bill Clinton was in Westchester at an event, and the lights went out. We've had outages in the 11th District every day.
Right.
In part, it's because they're overloading the system and the infrastructure has not been reinvested in. Yeah. What leadership are you going to provide for reinvesting in the infrastructure?
Well, I think it is an absolutely crucial part of the needs we need to address. But let's remember what Mr. Huizar pointed out earlier. When we talk about infrastructure, we can start thinking that we're just talking about buying enough transformers and just talking about buying enough cable. It's pretty expensive stuff,
right?
And you have to budget for it, but that's not the big issue. The big issue is getting the stuff up there. When the outages hit, I called up and I said, I want to visit the trouble room. I didn't even know what I was asking for. I said I wanted to visit the place where folks were dispatched to deal with the issues. And I spent the better part of a day as a nominated commissioner at the trouble room and at the call room, getting a real feel for what the people are like doing that kind of work. And let me tell you, these are folks working 16 hours a day, told, take a break, drive home, go to bed, get up, be back here 8 hours later, and there's no end in sight. And those were the folks working in the trouble room, not climbing the poles. So the amount of activity and devotion was huge. But we have to show that same level of intensity now. We need to be preventing outages in summer '08. We need to think about summer '08, and we need to use summer '08 to drive us to bring that same level of intensity on getting repairs made that are of preventative nature, identifying where the outages are likely to take place, and making sure that we select the right transformers and the right cable to be replaced.
Amen.
Absolutely crucial. And crucial to that is going to be to staff up. We simply are not rebuilding the power section strongly enough, and that is something that I intend to pay. Let me give you one fact, and I hope this doesn't shock folks too much. In the stack of papers I've been given to review, I found one document that really startled me. Guess how many net new hires there have been at the department in the last month?
Probably none.
No, there have been 17 net new hires in Department of Public Water and Power in the last month. Guess how many of those were in the power section? -2. We lost 2 people on a net basis. We simply are not doing enough. And I say once again, the good news is that we are not in a classic management union conflict where it's a morass and we can't get through it. There is will on both sides to solve the problem, but it hasn't happened yet.
Have you met with Brian Darcy?
Absolutely.
Brian has said very clearly to us that we need 2,000 replacements of middle management plus another 1,500. That's 3,500 employees. I like the idea of tying it to the gang prevention strategy as a prevention strategy. You train these people, and after 5 years, they got a real good job and a real good paycheck and a great life.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I have a long history dealing in labor management issues. And typically what you find is both sides are talking past each other. The union is screaming something and management is screaming something back, and they don't even connect. The good news is this. With all the problems that are going on and all the difficulties we have in getting rubber on the road, when I met with Brian, he used exactly the same figures to me. He said we need 1,500 new hires. And when I went to senior management at a department, I said, how many new hires do we need? Net new hires. 1,500 new hires. And I sat there and I started saying to myself, this is ridiculous. Both sides agree on what needs to be done. There's, as Ronald Reagan used to say, there's a pony in there somewhere.
Yeah, indeed. What do you think about Long Beach the other day, putting some real restrictions on water usage? Should we do the same?
I think it's premature here, but I think we're going to watch it like a hawk.
We need to take a look at what they're doing and see if it...
Look, the water system is a very real issue, and if things start going south on us, you can have to impose that kind of restriction. But the really, a beautifully run part of the department, the better, I would say, run part of the department right now is the water part of the department. We're in relatively good shape. Long Beach had to take its steps because they're simply not in as good shape as we are. That doesn't mean that in 2 months or 3 months things could not go south on us. I was joking that I want to work out a classification and go into the Sierras where every winter I'm a snow camper and go off to the Sierras and enjoy them when absolutely no one is around. And I'll do a snow measurement this year. But I'm praying that I have some snow to measure because last year it was 20% of our historical level. We could have very severe problems. Right now I think it's premature.
Mumbling about rate increases we're hearing. Have you taken a look at all about potential bills rising to us, that we're going to have to pay more?
Yeah, I've started wading into that issue, and I understand it's going to be one of the first issues I'll be grappling with on the Commission. What I can say to you is yesterday I spoke to the Commission President. We had a long, detailed conversation on the rate increase proposal, and you and every member of this Council is going to receive from the Department a detailed roadmap that will guide folks through not only what it is that the rate increase is being sought, but the generation of the need for that increase and a very clear roadmap and timetable of how the money intends to be spent so that it's spent effectively. And you'll be seeing that document shortly.
I think Nick Patsouris would like to hearing what you just said there.
I think Nick will be very happy. I expect that he'll find one or two things that need to be improved, and will tell us about them.
Yeah. Well, look, I look forward to your leadership on it. You know how to get things done. You're an action-oriented guy. We got big issues there that need to be dealt with, from infrastructure to personnel to climate change and all of those issues. And thank you for stepping forward.
Thanks, Bill.
Mr. Cardenas.
I just wanted to take this opportunity to say that I did enjoy working with you, Wally, when we were colleagues in the State Assembly.
It's great to
and
see
I'm
you.
glad to see. I was wondering what you were doing in the pews, and then I saw your name. I said, that's right. We're appointing them to the DWP.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for offering your service. I think that your knowledge, especially when it comes to the legislature, is very important, because sometimes, and we bring it upon ourselves sometimes, when we don't take care of business here locally, the legislature decides that they're going to do it for us. And I think when we have good attention on behalf of the electeds and on behalf of the Board of Commissioners at the Department of Water and Power, and we work appropriately with our staff, labor, management, we can and will get things done and move in the right direction. So I look forward to your leadership. I know that you're going to make an impact. I'm glad that you were willing to give up of your time for this important position, and I look forward to working with you again here in the city of Los Angeles.
Tony,
Thank you,
it would be a great pleasure working with you. I'm really glad you're on the Energy and Environment Committee, chaired by Jan, and it's going to be fun.
Thank you. Mr. Labange.
Hi, I'm Wally. How are you? Thank you for your service to the city of Los Angeles. I think the one challenge always when we're down on people is trying to get the people. So I appreciate your explanation when you were speaking to Mr. Rosendahl and the challenge of the 1,500 both management, why this isn't working. And also the one thing, when you do know if you hire and you promote, then there's always this continual movement. So to be a pusher to that, there's great, as we had the opportunity to meet and discuss history in there, but I think your knowledge of the state certainly will go a long way. I just want to know, how could we be kept informed of the actions? Are we making progress? Even this week, this is, an Indian summer, so to speak, as it was once termed. I think we can make it through this period, but it could happen sooner than later. It could happen in the rainstorms. What do you project on that? And the other complaint that I hear all the time that I want to, and I love water and power, okay? I love water and power. I worked there. I loved them before I worked there. I loved them after I worked there. But sometimes the challenge is that people they want to know something when their lights are out, when the power is out. And if you could kind of focus or elaborate.
If I may, Tom, pardon me for interrupting. Let me sharpen that a little bit. This is my personal point of view. It's not the department speaking or any other commissioner speaking. I think the department needs to change its attitude on how it presents itself. Earlier I said it's lived off a reservoir of grandeur and goodwill that was earned in the early 20th century, and it's spent that down progressively in a similar way as it's spent down the infrastructure that keeps us all in electricity and in water. The department now needs to aggressively and assertively, but not arrogantly, seek approval and earn approval. Eric Garcetti asked me a very excellent question, very similar to yours, and that is, what are the metrics for success going to be? And I didn't give him a quick answer to that, because I don't have a quick answer to that. I'm a quick study, but I'm not that quick. But I know that one of the metrics is going to be this. When we start seeing the monthly hirings at the department, we're going to have to start to see monthly hirings in the power section in the double digits. We simply aren't going to get ourselves out of this fix unless that begins to happen. There are other metrics then that can allow you to assess whether or not the outages are rising or falling, whether the underground cable situation is getting out of hand. I don't know if folks are aware of this, but we were recently replacing underground cable at a rate that would complete the replacement every 400 years. This is ridiculous. So we have very severe problems to deal with. But the most important metrics in my mind are not the ultimate outage metrics. The most important metrics are going to be the metrics that measure what we're doing to prevent the outages. And those are going to be hirings, those are going to be placements of transformers, those are going to be miles of cable laid.
Right. We got generation, we got transmission, but it's the interior distribution. I know, Mr. Smith, I remember in 2005 in the storms, we talked about how your district was and how it handled it. And, you explained to me, well, your infrastructure is 40 years old. I don't know if you had any power outages in the summer at all. Did you have some in your district? And he lives in the newest part of the city, the West San Fernando Valley, but it's all infrastructure. So thank you. Call on me if I could help you in any way. And I think it is a culture that you have to push to change, to say, look, let's be as good as our previous engineers were. Let's be as good as our previous representatives were and give them the support that's necessary to build the team that built the city. Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Wally.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hahn.
Thank you, Madam President, and congratulations, Wally, and thank you for agreeing to serve on this extremely important commission. I think you made a really good point when you said DWP needs to sort of change its attitude or its, the way it communicates, particularly. And I think residents, I know we get a lot of calls in our field offices, especially during outages, of some frustration when people call the number that they're given a call. It pretty much says, oh, there's outages in West LA and the Valley, and we're working on it. And there's not a sense that people can get a live person to talk to. I know when I worked for Southern California Edison for many years, that was part of what I did. I actually, manned the phones during outages and called people back and talked to them, and it goes a long way, customer service. The other thing that came from the 912 Commission, which was the commission that just reviewed our neighborhood council process. One of the recommendations that came from the Neighborhood Council Review Commission was that they described it as a ratepayer advocate. That DWP actually had a person that would be, if there was a rate increase being advocated, or during a power outage, or just, kind of be that person for the ratepayer. I know we have a city council liaison, but that was an interesting recommendation, so I'd like to get your thoughts on if that's a position that you think would be good for DWP to communicate not only with neighborhood councils, specifically with neighborhood councils, but also with our ratepayers.
Yeah, I have not thought about it, so I'd like to reserve judgment on the specific proposal, but I definitely think we need to be much closer touch with the neighborhood councils in general on these things. Out there in the real world, there are two things that there's no question about people wanting from their system. They want inexpensive electricity, and they want it reliably. After those things are provided, and this is a harsh statement I'm going to make, after those things are provided, the public attention turns to such things as environmental concerns. You know and I know that some of those environmental concerns help deliver reliable electricity and can help make it cost effective. But that's a hard sell to folks who are facing outages. We have to gain confidence of the population at large by delivering the goods reliably, and then we can move forward on other initiatives having gained that trust. But if you forfeit that trust, forget it.
Actually, I misspoke. It wasn't the 912 Commission. It was actually the Neighborhood Council Oversight Committee within DWP. So we already have sort of a connection with DWP and our neighborhood councils, but this was a recommendation that came from them that we actually could use a ratepayer advocate. And I know there's a lot of those out in Los Angeles who are also hoping that we could get back on track with some kind of an undergrounding strategy for our utilities. We know mostly if our facilities are undergrounded, they do better. They're not as suspect to weather and animals. And I know we were trying to have a pilot program several years ago, which has not gone forward. So.
We're not even doing a good job on maintaining what we do have underground currently. and we're replacing it at a rate that will complete that process in the year 2,407. So we have a huge way to go along those lines.
So you got a bunch of big issues, Wally, but we know you're up to the task.
Now, I'm going to take the easy stuff and let the other folks do the hard stuff. Yeah.
But we're willing to work with you to the benefit of the ratepayer.
Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Perry?
Yeah. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And we had the pleasure of talking with Mr. Knox yesterday in our Special Energy and Environment Committee. And I know that you already covered many of the issues that he shared with us yesterday, but I think he'll bring a very large dose of common sense and practical viewpoint to the Commission. And he's not a shrinking violet either. And you're going to be joining some other people who have very strong personalities. So good luck to you, and stay in touch. And I look forward to working with you because it'll be very interesting, dynamic viewpoints that I'm sure you will share with each other.
I am very much looking forward to working with you, Madam Chair. I think it's going to be a remarkable year.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Weiss?
Already done. Already talked.
Okay. It looked like you had pressed your button again. Okay. Yes, and we had an opportunity in committee to have some dialogue, and since everyone has spoken, I'll give you a break. But we look forward to you coming back and having important dialogue about what's happening at DWP and some of the issues that we discussed yesterday in committee. Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
13 ayes.
Thank
Congratulations.
you.
Thank you very much. Next item.
Next item, Madam President, is item number 17, and that's confirmation of Mr. Luis Herrera to the Commission on Disability. Arts Parks met this morning, and a communication from the chair has been submitted.
Thank you. Mr. Labange, since it is a communication, we do have one card on this item and required to do a public hearing. So we'd have our commissioner be seated and ask Arnold Sachs. Is Arnold still here?
Thank you.
And then I'll acknowledge Mr. Labange. Mr. Sachs.
Good morning. Thank you again, council members. Yes, I'd like to know, or I'd like to bring to the attention of this newest member of the Disability Board, a problem that occurs with access services that he may be interested in looking into, as the City Council has not taken any action on it. And that's the fact that access service providers, the ones that use taxi cabs, generally what they do is two things. First, they enter into contracts saying they will authorize X amount of cabs, yet they will only staff those cabs with unqualified drivers for the most part, which means that they are living up to the number of taxis that they are supposed to provide, but since they have unqualified drivers, they're not able to pick up access passengers. And this creates a backlog for access, people who need access service provided to them, because there are a multitude of access serviceable cabs on the road, but not being driven by qualified drivers, and since they're not qualified drivers, they don't pick up access passengers. And access passengers who complain about delays in service will ultimately be forced out of the program, so that they have a choice of, do I complain and then lose my access service ability, or do I just take the bad service and keep my access card? It's a serious problem. I brought this before the council, and yet nothing's been done. So I would hope that you might look into this, and good luck with your commission appointment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Labange.
Members, this is a very exceptional person who is going to serve the city well. Mr. Herrera, who grew up in the San Fernando Valley, went to James Monroe High School, was going to go to Birmingham High School, which you may or may not know has special educational programs for those who are visually impaired, but he was so smart, they kicked him out. He'll tell you that. They kicked him up to Monroe, where he excels as a student. He had his college training as an engineer, and he worked in the aviation field. We had a chance to visit in committee today, and then also we had time to go up to the top of City Hall and talk about this great city. Please welcome and ask for your confirmation on this vote for the Office Commission of Disability for Luis Herrera. Luis, say a few words, if you would, please, on your passion right there.
Thank you, Mr. Bunch. Mr. Ferrer.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I can tell you that I look forward to getting the appointment and being confirmed. I've always been a person who likes to do what's right and look for a positive solution to any possible problem that might come up. I would like to be more in a position of serving others. My feeling is that there's so much that this city can offer to those who are disabled or able-bodied. However, sometimes there are some snags that we all run into at times, and I would like to be able and be in a position to make a difference and serve the constituency of this city.
Luis, thank you very much. He's a proud graduate of State University of Northridge, Cal State Northridge. He comes from a family of 7. His beautiful sister is here as well. I ask for an aye vote for Luis Herrera for the Commission on Disability. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Thank you, Louis, for your willingness to serve and your patience this morning of waiting through all the items we had today. We're excited about you being on our commission here in Los Angeles. Madam Clerk, if you could open the roll on this item, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
13 ayes.
Congratulations. You've been approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Next item, Madam President, is item number 28, and that was called special by Councilmember Hahn.
Yes, Ms. Hahn, I think Mr. Zine on item number 28, did you have a request to put it back into committee?
Yes, I do think there were some people here, though, from SEIU that wanted to say something.
I mean, let me say what we resolved so maybe we can expedite this. Amended recommendation 1 of committee report is to change approve to disapprove the committee report, which was to permit these 2 positions to be placed without a competitive process, and to add recommendation number 4, and that is to instruct the general manager, Department of Animal Services, to work with the personnel department to give the examination for director of field operations on an open and promotional basis. This matter was brought to us from the mayor's office. We had 10 days to decide. If we didn't do anything, it would automatically be approved. So I understand a compromise has been worked out with the director from Animal Services and the general manager of personnel department that it would be for an examination for director of field operations on an open and promotional basis, which means that people currently at Animal Services could compete for this particular position. I was concerned, and we heard this in committee, that we don't go outside and bring people in, that we have a promotional process. So I understand, Ms. Hahn, you accepted that amendment, and if you did, and if not...
Accepted it. That was my issue today. I was very upset that these 2 positions, very well-paid positions, were sidestepping our good employees in this department and weren't allowing them to have an opportunity to compete for this.
That was a concern we had in committee.
That was my concern. So I had a huge issue with this.
And that was a concern we had in committee. The problem is if it comes from the mayor, we have 10 days. If we don't approve it, it's automatically. So what we've done now is it's not going to be automatically given as an exempt position to outside folks, that people with Animal Services can do it. So we wanted to come up with that. And we informed Mr. Books of our concerns at the committee. And I will publicly state that we've had continuing problems with Animal Services. Making that, Mr. Books, a public statement, we've had continuing problems with your department. This is just another example where many of my colleagues are concerned about the operations of that department. And we hope that you as a general manager can fix it, because we get a lot of complaints.
Absolutely. And this whole initiative is an attempt to fix that. And I want to thank the City Council for your willingness to hear this issue. And I came prepared after having heard the concerns of the union and our employees to propose this very thing of making, and I actually talked to Maggie about this morning, making this an open promotional opportunity with a civil service exam to ensure that our staff have the opportunity to apply and compete for this position. So I think that this approach helps us achieve the very objectives that the whole City Council wants and we in management want, which is to really address some of the festering issues within the department.
Let me just add on that, and one of the concerns is that we discussed at committee, a district supervisor, what the Animal Services has is acting supervisor, and then it jumps from that to director of field operations. District supervisor is another position that we discussed. Hopefully that will be put in, which is a training position to get people the opportunity to come to field operation, because there's a gap of about $50,000 between acting supervisor and director of field operations, and there's no step ladder in between. So hopefully you can come back with the assistance of Maggie Withers from Personnel Department with the district supervisor, which is the step in between, and then we can pull from that. That's hopefully the overall goal, but once you get those positions filled, we're still going to be concerned with the other 8 positions with the expanded animal shelters that you have.
Right. The restoration of that position will ensure the department has a strong cadre of middle managers from which to draw for the DFO position as well as AGM and ultimately GM position.
Which you don't have now.
Which we don't have now. Correct.
So hopefully we can correct all that, and then the morale of the department will improve, and Maggie has the experience in how these matters can be put to rest.
Thank you, Councilmember. The Personnel Department is working very closely with the Department of Animal Services to ensure that their organization is appropriate for the work that they perform. We will also expedite the examination for this classification.
So if it would be the will of the council to approve that recommendation number 4 and disapprove recommendation number 1 on the committee report.
Thank you. I have Ms. Hahn. Are you giving it to Mr. LaBonge? You're okay, Ms. Hahn? Because Ms. Hahn had called
Thank
the
you, Ms.
special.
Whalen. Folks, good to see you. Hey, Ed, I want our city to be successful. You got a big job. It's important that you work with the personnel department and you work with the people who do the hard job. And also, Ed, I just want to say I saw a story in the paper, I think yesterday or the day before. I'm concerned about all that because I want you to be successful, so I hope you could address that at some time, whatever that case may be on the situation, you know, whether you want to do it here or you want to do it, you know, later, because it concerns me on that, because we have a process here. This is not Kansas City, this is not Miami, it's not New York, it's not Maricopa County. This is Los Angeles, California, and there was a reason why it is all the way it is. We want to fight for animal services. I know Ed Rendell and the wildlife team, of which there are 2 for a city 472 square miles, needs greater support. I know yesterday when we were in here, Ms. Barth was in here, and there's only 7 members of a call center, and you get 700 calls a day, and there's no service on the weekends. I know that has to be addressed. So there's a process here, and I want to make sure that it's fair and done. And I know our chair of finance committee and our chair of personnel do fight for positions for this. So all that being said, I'm listening now, I'm concerned, and I'm glad we're going through this process because I don't like things that just kind of come out of nowhere, and I like a process. Okay. Thank you, Madam President.
Councilman, if I can respond, I'd be happy to schedule an appointment to talk with you about all of the concerns you may have with the department. I'd be delighted to do that.
Sure.
Also, I want to assure the entire City Council that I am heightenedly aware of the need to follow process after recent events, and I think Maggie would verify that with respect to this we have done just that. But I do believe that this proposal will help us achieve all of our objectives without making it exempt. So I'm delighted with this decision.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Zine.
Yeah, I just want to close by giving Mr. Boak some advice I received when I was with the police department. You can be in a boat all by yourself, or you can be a boat with everyone else helping you get to shore. And when you include this body, we're in the boat with you, helping you get to shore. When you're out there by yourself, then sometimes you don't make it to shore. Just some words of advice.
Thank you, sir.
It helped me during my career. I got those words from Chief Parks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. So this will be before us as amended
I'm
by
sorry.
the verbal amendment by Mr. Zine.
And Madam President, for clarification on the report that's being amended, do you wish to delete recommendation number 3, which is to instruct the Department of Animal Services to report back on the selection?
Pardon me? Yes, report back. Yeah, that was
You want
part of
to-
the original.
Okay, so
to
delete-
report back who's selected. Yes.
So there was 2 recommendations to report back. One is with the CLA and the CAO on the salary comparison. You want to leave that, but
Correct.
recommendation number 3, delete, which
Yes,
is...
and that'll go back to the Personnel Committee. Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
12 ayes.
Okay, next item? I think, sorry, we're going to go to item 45. I think I mentioned that. Mr. Cardenas?
Thank you very much. Item 45 is just an opportunity for us to accept a donation that was made by Montage Development. They spent close to $70,000 to help a firefighter at Station 81, a firefighter crew. I went to go visit them one time, and they invited me to eat with them, and they were literally stepping over each other to try to eat their dinner and do the business of the day. And it was quite embarrassing, and when I asked them why the kitchen was so small, they gave us a frank answer that they've applied for some city funds or what have you. There's a little account within the fire department, but nothing was happening. And due to some technicalities, I got a hold of Montage Development, asked them if they could go look at it and see if maybe they could do a little bit of renovation of the kitchen. I was thinking maybe $10,000 at the most. They went all out. They gave them a whole new kitchen appliances, several $1,000s just in the stove alone, which was badly needed. They blew out one of the walls far beyond what anybody had imagined. They put in all new windows, air conditioning. They just went all out for the firefighters in the community, and I just thought it was appropriate that I take a moment to thank Montage Development and also to apologize to the firefighters that we made them wait so long. But this is the kind of partnership that we need to see with our business community in Los Angeles, and also certainly with all the needy organizations, including our firefighters who put their life on the line for us every day. So once again, there's an opportunity for us to formally accept this donation that occurred already, yet at the same time thank business like Montage Development for setting the standard for our community in the San Fernando Valley and the fire station in Arleta. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Alacon.
It went all out.
Mr. Alacon?
Members, I want to publicly thank Councilman Cardenas because this is my fire station. It's in his district, but it's the one that serves my neighborhood in Panorama City, and I can tell you that it is, Tony told me this, I wasn't aware of this, but it is the busiest fire station in the entire system, and by the sound of the sirens that I hear every night, I can tell you that I'm glad that other communities, I'm glad this is the busiest station, because if all stations were that busy, nobody would be able to sleep at night. It's a very, very busy station. In fact, just the other day, I almost witnessed a car accident right in front of my house, and they almost crashed into an ambulance that was coming by. So this will be a very welcome benefit not only to the firefighters who will make their living accommodations much more comfortable, but to the community that is served by these most busy firefighters in the entire system. And everybody knows that when you need emergency services, you want them to have been well fed and in a good mood when they come to provide service to you. So I publicly wanted to thank I was going to say Assemblymember Cardenas, but Councilman Cardenas for negotiating this incredible deal to make life more comfortable for the firefighters, so that they may better serve the constituents who are served by that fire station.
Thank you, Mr. Alacon, and thank you, Mr. Cardenas and Montage. Madam Clerk, if we could open the roll on that item, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
12 ayes.
Thank you. Next item.
Item 38, call special for cards from the public.
Yes, Mr. Sachs.
Good afternoon. Thank you again. I'd just like to congratulate the council for recognizing that there is third-party liability. I've come before you numerous times to discuss the contract at the airport that LAWA has allowed a second party to contract with a third party. And here's a piece of city legislation that is outright denying third-party benefits. Thank you very much. Let's see what you can do about the contract at the airport. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Huizar.
Thank you. Since we're on this motion and it's on El Grito, I just want to report that we had a wonderful El Grito event this past 15th of September where the event was televised that Sunday in its entirety throughout the country. And I was told that we were televised nationally in a very positive light here in the city of Los Angeles. And given that there are probably more Mexicans outside of Mexico City that live in Los Angeles, it was great to see that we were celebrating one of the most important dates in Mexican history here in the city as we celebrate this very important date for a large population in our city. So it was a great event. Particularly, I was excited because as a padrino, as the event organizer, I was able to bring a little flavor of my home state of Zacatecas, Mexico. We brought here the Antonio Aguilar Jr., the son of one of the greatest artists that just passed away, and the wife, Flor Silvestre, who was a great singer in her own right, and Lucero, one of the great artists right now from Mexico, performed here. So we had a great event, and thanks to all the council members who attended our pre-event. It was a great celebration. Thank you so much.
Thank you for all your hard work and your staff's hard work on that, to Mr. Huizar. Madam Clerk, open the roll on this item, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
12 ayes.
Thank you. Next item.
Item number 39, call special by Councilmember Weiss.
Thank you. Mr. Weiss.
Thank you, Madam President. Briefly, colleagues, item 39 concerns a decision of the Federal Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit relating to gun control laws. A case was brought within the last few years in Washington, D.C., challenging local gun control restrictions in Washington, D.C. and the district. Those gun control restrictions, by and large, are more restrictive than laws we have on the books here in Los Angeles, but nonetheless, they were struck down by the D.C. Circuit on grounds of the Second Amendment. That is basically unheard of in federal law. And should the Supreme Court take this matter up, which D.C. has requested, I'm not certain that's the greatest idea, but should the Supreme Court take it up, this motion would direct the city attorney to file an amicus brief, which would put the city of Los Angeles on the side of the city or the District of Columbia, supporting the right of cities to regulate firearms and ammunition under the Second Amendment. So I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, if you could open the roll on this item, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
11 ayes.
That item's been approved. Next item.
Madam President, do you wish to clear the desk before going into closed session?
Please.
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Those will be posted and referred.
And that clears the desk for closed session.
Thank you. If we could, we will be going into executive session and ask the guards to please clear the room.
Amen.
All right, thank you very much. Madam Clerk, what is our first order of business?
Before the council is item number 49, and that's settlement in the case of Squire versus City of Los Angeles. It's a workers' compensation case, and the total amount is, the settlement is $164,337.63.
All right, do you want to open the roll on that? Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Next item.
And that clears the desk, Madam President.
All right. Are there any motions for posting and referral?
Those were taken care of already.
Any excuses on the desk?
No, Madam President.
All right, great. Then I believe that should clear the desk. Announcements? Any announcements from colleagues? No announcements. I'm yearning to hear 6 or 7 from Mr. Parks. Mr. Parks, would you like to make some announcements? No, I'm just kidding. Thank you. Thank you. Are there any adjourning motions? All right, please rise for adjourning motions. Mr. Rosendahl.
Thank you, Madam President. Kathy Wishnek just passed away. She wasn't an old lady like we all want to be old when we pass away. She was just 60 years old on September 16th after a 3-year battle with cancer. She's the daughter of Franklin and Ethel Benson, and she grew up in Westwood, attended local public schools, and graduated from UCLA in 1968. In 1968, she married Arnie Wisnick in college. Kathy was a runaway model, and her husband Arnie, who was executive director of the Pacific Palisades Chamber of Commerce, capitalized on that by recruiting her to MC events and perform skits on numerous occasions, including the annual teen pageant and 4th of July parade. Kathy's generosity and volunteerism was legendary, including feeding the hungry at the Turning Point Shelter in Santa Monica, for which she was honored in 2000 by the Jewish Reconstructionist Foundation for her Terkum Olam work at Kayal, Israel. Her ability to swing a hammer led her to found the Handy Corps Home Repair Task Force to assist older people with home repairs. Kathy's beauty, generosity, and sense of humor will be greatly missed by the Pacific Palisades community, where her many contributions led to her becoming an honorary resident. Kathy and Arnie reside in Beverlywood in Council District 5. A memorial service will be held on Sunday, September 30th at 1:30 at KL Israel at 16019 Sunset in the Pacific Palisades. She's survived by her husband Arnie, sister-in-law Audrey Greenberg, and her nephew Dr. Joshua Greenberg. May she rest in peace.
Thanks very much, Mr. Rosendahl. No other adjourning motions? Okay, Madam Clerk, call the roll. The meeting is adjourned. Do it fast. Thank you.